welcome to the Ditch the Struggle podcast. I'm your host, Alana Rosso. I'm a graphic designer turned career and success coach who knew I could do better, but kept falling short of where I wanted to go. But after years of exploring personal and career development, business, money mindset, and energy work, I'm here to tell you that yes, you can move from stuck and defeated to empowered and confident. Ready to dive in? Awesome. Together, let's ditch the struggle. Hi everyone, it's Alana here, and today is going to be a cool episode because I'm going to introduce you to potentially a whole bunch of energy healing modalities that you have never heard of. And the reason I want to do this is because energy work, energy healing is actually a huge, huge part of my life. And I sometimes think I represent that, and sometimes I don't, and that's okay. At one point, I thought it was going to be more a part of my actual career. And right now, I'm not feeling like doing energy healing is a huge part of my career. And that's good. And then I'll talk about that. But the fact is that behind the scenes, I am very involved and I am very curious about all kinds of energy healing. So let me give you some backstory there is that I have mentioned, I think in one of the very first episodes, that my mom was a yoga teacher. Now, she didn't start out that way. She did some corporate training, and I think she wanted to be an X-ray technician, but she ended up becoming a yoga teacher. And the reason why is because in her mid-30s, and this is a long time ago because my mom had me when she was in her 40s. When my mom was in her mid-30s, she had very radical back surgery. And she was told that she may never walk again from the surgery. It was very risky. And my sister was already born. They did want another child, but she was not able to have another child for quite a few years because of the back surgery. And it was yoga that helped her recover. So she accredited doing yoga. And this is back when yoga was weird. It wasn't a Lululemon sport or anything like that. She was doing yoga, and that helped strengthen her back and helped her recover. And eventually she was able to have another baby. And that was me. And how that happened and how I came into this world is kind of interesting, and I'll talk about that. But she used this as a healing modality, and she became a yoga teacher. And from the day I remember, from my youngest memory, she was a yoga teacher teaching twice a week, and she used to work with the Toronto School Board teaching yoga class at night. It was great money. And then she just worked her own classes out of literally like a church basement. So I had a mom that many would consider like the weirdo mom. Let's just be real here. The one who doesn't have a normal career. She also used to work part-time retail. So she was like a retail salesperson and then doing some yoga classes and, doing the mom thing. So I grew up with a yoga teacher mom when no one was doing yoga. So I was introduced to kind of healing modalities since I was born. And she was also really a big fan of reflexology, which is working on pressure points of the feet, which I absolutely love. And so she was doing that on me. So my mind was open to these other healing modalities. And I started seeing a naturopath very young. I was still in my teens. And I still go to the same place. I go to the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine in Toronto, which is a school, and you can actually work with a fourth-year student under the guidance of a doctor, like a naturopathic doctor, and it's very affordable. I'll talk more about that, but I have been doing this forever, and I love to try different things, and I'm so curious. The curiosity piece is huge for me. And I'm at the point in my life where I believe more in energy healing than almost anything. It's gotten to that place because I have had miracles happen, and there's nothing short of miracles. I have had incredible things happen. And when possible, this is what I will gravitate towards. I try and rely on allopathic medicine for acute and emergency situations only. And I actually think I've had kind of a healthy aversion to some mainstream medical practices. And because I've been so curious and because I've actually basically used myself as a guinea pig, I'm going to share some of this knowledge because I know some people know that I've tried certain things, but when I started writing the list of everything I've done, I was like, oh gosh. So today will just be a top line introduction, and I'm going to leave links to all of these different modalities I talked about. I'm not going to dive into all of them, but part of the reason I wanted to do this episode is that I've done an awesome interview with one of the energy healing practitioners I work with so often. Her name is Rose. And I wanted to kind of just set the stage for some of the conversation that we're going to talk about so it doesn't feel like we're just diving into the deep end. So let me just start by saying and giving you a list of I can't remember them all, I don't think, but most of the energy modalities I have tried. And so when I say energy modalities, I'm talking about energy healing, where we're doing more natural or alternative therapies. I hate the word alternative. I've mentioned this before, but that's how people know it. They are usually non-invasive. They are not using pharmaceuticals, and they are also really based on the fact that we as humans are energetic beings and we respond to energy. And energy can be a healing force, and energy can be a destructive force, right? But in this case, we're using energy and energy forces to recalibrate our bodies, rebalance our bodies, and heal our bodies. And the one thing I want to say is that before I get into this list, I hear people say, oh, I once went to a Reiki session and nothing happened. Or I tried this supplement and nothing happened. But here's the thing about any kind of healing journey. Anything that we take, anything we ingest, anything we try, and I don't care if you're talking about a regular over-the-counter drug or something energetic. Sometimes things work, and sometimes they don't. I know, radical concept, right? It depends what our body's doing and what it wants at the time. And sometimes we give it what it doesn't need, even if it's something really positive like a Reiki treatment. Maybe it didn't need that. Or I challenge you because sometimes the change and the shift is so subtle that we don't notice it, but we actually will feel the benefit of it because we're so disconnected from our bodies. And I'm going to be talking about this in my interview with Rose. And also I did mention this in the interview with Sue, which is episode number 20, who's a myofascial release therapist. We're so disconnected, we don't notice subtle changes. So when I hear someone say it didn't work for me, sometimes that's totally true. I've had times where I'm not feeling huge shifts, but I want to explore these because we are getting as a society so disconnected from nature, from things that are natural, and we are relying so much on things that are fake, things that are technology based, and it actually makes me kind of want to cry. Like, this is how upset I get. And I have had so many amazing experiences, which I'll kind of, I'm going to thread those stories throughout these episodes. So, okay, let's just get to this list of all the things that I've tried. And I'm going to start with just some of the ones that I love the most. So I'm going to read the list and I'll just go back to cover a few of these just to set you up. And again, all these resources will be in the show notes. So think of this as kind of a resource episode, and I'm not going to do much of a deep dive, but let's go. So number one of my all-time favorite healing modalities is theta healing. I have done Reiki. I have done emotion code, homeopathy, matrix repatterning, osteopathy, body talk, life alignment, emotion code, sound healing / crystal bowls, EFT, which is the emotional freedom technique, or tapping. I think a lot of people know it that way. Hypnosis, visualization, access consciousness bars, Rolfing, Feldenkrais method, aromatherapy, feng shui, reflexology, past life regression. Yes, I have done that. Meditation, NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, acupuncture, and of course, tons of different massage therapy techniques. So I have tried a lot, and I love diving into it. And because I've done so many, I'm connected to my intuition, I will sometimes look at all this list and all the things I've done, and then I will just check in to see what I need at any time. But my favorites are usually theta healing, Reiki, emotion code, and homeopathy. Those are kind of like my top go-to. Theta healing is something that I'm actually certified in. I am a certified theta healing practitioner, and it's a meditation technique that does rely a lot on intuition, where I walk a client up through into a meditation where we're connecting to a source energy, kind of like Reiki. You do have to believe that there is something beyond just this 3D physical world that we live in, right? And most people believe in something. It is not about being religious. However, there is that spiritual connection. And in 2021, I had this epiphany on a coaching call with my coach that I was not connecting to my spiritual self. And what did I do? I had already done some theta healing technique training. I dove into it and I use it on myself all the time. I use it on my husband, friends, and family. I have some clients, and for a while I was promoting it in my business. I've just decided that I'm focusing more on the coaching right now, but that might change. As I said, I'm going through a lot of changes this year and what I want to focus on. But theta healing, I absolutely love. And I do theta healing swaps with other practitioners almost every week, actually. One of them is like in Germany. My other friend lives in LA that I work with. And it's incredible for releasing blocks on the subconscious level. Like that's really what energy healing is trying to get to, is the root of why something's happening, those patterns, those emotional behaviors, the traumas, all of that. So I love theta healing. I love Reiki, and my husband is actually a certified Reiki master. So I'm very lucky that he sometimes does work on me, and he actually works on our dog very often. And dogs or all animals take really well to it. It's also tapping into universal energy to create healing. I have so many friends who are amazing Reiki practitioners. Oh, and I have a friend, Julie, who does facials and Reiki healing at the same time. I got to put her notes below because it's like a transformative experience. The emotion code is also one of my favorite techniques that I have been doing for, I think, almost 10 years with Rose Morrow. She is going to be a guest on my show. She is a guest. I've recorded it. It's going to come out after this episode. And we're going to dive into the emotions that stay trapped in our body and create physical pain and emotional pain. And it's just incredible. Yeah. And heart walls and things like that. So emotion code is also one of my go-to techniques. And homeopathy is something I have been doing forever because I've also been working with a naturopath since I was a teenager. So not all naturopaths do homeopathy. And actually right now my osteopath is my homeopath because she does both. And I respond really well to it. Now, what a homeopathy is, I've actually heard this described as a very tiny, 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 tiny poisoning. And I thought this was kind of funny. So it is actually the vibration of what your body needs to heal itself. And I think it's, I'm not going to do the best job of explaining this because I know some people will say it's just a sugar pill. It is a sugar pellet with the vibration of what your body needs to heal. And the homeopathy practitioner, the homeopath, does a lot of deep diving, a ton of questions to figure out what could possibly be the root cause of your symptoms. So what I love about energy modalities is we're talking about diving into those root causes beyond the symptoms, right? Sometimes you just need to take a painkiller to get through the pain of the day or the injury, whatever it is. Absolutely. But ideally, you want to get to the root cause. When my mom was dying in the hospital in 2021, my lower back went out so badly that I could not walk. I was in so much pain. Declan came downstairs. I was in the living room at 3:00 in the morning. It must have looked so weird. I was like draped over a chair, like in the most contorted way, just trying to get any kind of pain relief. And I had to call telehealth, which is our like kind of like health hotline. And I basically said to them, how many painkillers can I take without hurting myself? Because I cannot function. I was just in excruciating pain. I had an acute situation. I had to get through it. And that was on a Saturday. I knew I couldn't get to my energetic chiropractor who does this matrix repatterning technique till Monday. And she did fit me in Monday. And Declan had to drive me to the appointment. I like hobbled in and I was walking out. And it was the trauma of my mom dying that was setting things off because it was obviously it's a traumatic experience to go through and we had a very complicated relationship and there was just a lot going on. So in a time of acute crisis, a painkiller can be great. Absolutely. But when you're looking for long-term healing, long-term health, success, then these modalities are great and they do require commitment. And I know some of them do require money, but I actually have in mind an episode where I'm going to like look at all different things you can do for like free or almost no money because I'm really resourceful. I want to share those resources. So homeopathy has been something that I absolutely love. And I've done for also ever, just done it. And some of these other techniques, I do want to point out that some of them I've done and some of them I don't actually love. So EFT is really popular and it's been very popular, I'd say, at least, especially the last 5 years, which is also called tapping. And I have known how to do EFT, honestly, since it almost came out. It was founded by Gary Craig. I had a friend into all these modalities, and she found out about this tapping technique. I don't know how, and then was like, I need to use you as a guinea pig. And so she used me as a guinea pig. I'm always up for this. And I have known about this technique, honestly, 20 years, at least 20 years, more than that, actually, I think. And I'm going to tell you something. It is actually one of my least favorite healing modalities. There are some people who love it. It is so calming to them. But I will say that it sometimes works for me, but very rarely do I feel a huge shift. And it will probably be almost last on this list. Okay, it's like, okay, Feng Shui I'm not using for like certain things, even though it is a kind of an energy healing technique. But EFT would be kind of last on my list of things to do. If I do it, and sometimes I do feel the need to do it, I love tapping with Brad on YouTube. He's just like a cool, grounded kind of energy. But it's the idea of using acupressure to you tapping on different parts of your body to help release stresses, subconscious blocks. I think kind of the idea is that you're almost like keeping your body occupied with this physical tapping so that subconscious thoughts and memories and things can come to the surface and be cleared. I have had some interesting, profound moments with EFT, but they're few and far between. So when I'm not having, obviously a lot of shifts consistently, it makes sense that it wouldn't be my natural go-to modality. And I feel it's really important to point this out because I do understand when someone says, that doesn't work for me. And actually, I used to get really annoyed that it didn't work for me or I didn't feel it worked for me that well. I would kind of go into victim mode, like, why is it working for everyone else and not for me? And I would get annoyed. And then I caught myself and I was like, okay, first of all, not every technique is going to work for everybody, and you have to find what works for you. And for whatever reason, it just seems that EFT and tapping is not my go-to, but that's okay because theta healing works so well on me and I know how to do it and I do it on myself every day. So that's kind of my go-to. So it's okay. And I think theta healing relies a lot more on visualization and intuition, which is more my natural way of operating. Like I'm just such a visualization person. And I have been meditating for many, many years. I don't do a huge amount of meditation, but that's on my list. I do meditation outside every morning, outdoors for about 5 minutes. Like that's my baseline. Like at least I do that. And then I try to do more. But some of these other techniques are, incredible. And there's part of me is like, oh, I want to like get certified in all these things because I love to be able to do them. But I don't really need to. I work with people who know how to do them, and that's good enough. Hypnosis is an interesting one. I have listened to hypnosis, like, meditations and things like that. It wouldn't be also my go-to in terms of healing. However, I have once in a while done a hypnosis meditation that's amazing, and I see profound results with other people. So I have a deep belief in it. And interestingly, as I mentioned, my mom was able to have me later on in life. She gave birth to me under hypnosis. She did hypnosis training with someone who was pretty famous at the time in Toronto. I don't remember his name. She did training with him for months before she had me. And she gave birth to me with absolutely no drugs, no nothing, no epidural. And she said that was one of the easiest experiences of her whole life. And she could have had 10 babies in a row. So you have to understand, because I knew that story, I'm now imprinted with the belief that this works, that this can be a viable way to get through a really big health crisis or health challenge or something physically demanding, right? So I had a lot of positive influence, and I really, really appreciate that because I'm very open-minded and I will try anything. And if it doesn't work, that's cool. And if it does work, that's even better. And what I love to do is when people have something going on, I love to be like, oh, you know what? This sounds like it could really help you. And I tend to be good at helping people matchmake a healing modality for them. This is not medical advice. I'm not a doctor, all those things. But I can kind of sense, when I hear someone struggling with something, okay, this might be good for you. And it's not me always recommending theta healing or Reiki or my kind of top ones. Sometimes it's like, you know what? I think the past life regression thing is super interesting. I've done it. I actually plan on doing some more. There is so much to that. If you go on YouTube and hear people's stories and just go down that rabbit hole, it is wild. I do think some of the things we do and some of the patterns we create in our lives in this lifetime is from a past life. And then you can argue there's no such thing as past life because time doesn't really exist. And it's just all different strings of reality. I'm not going to get into quantum physics today or probably any other day, but I might get a specialist on here who can talk about that. What I wanted to share with you guys, but apparently the PDF no longer exists online, is that I had this PDF book called 100 Energy Healing Modalities. It was printed in 2019 by spiritradical.com, but it doesn't exist anymore. So I'm going to try and see if I can find a source for that to put into the notes, but you can also Google something like that because you do need to try and find the technique that works for you. And it is trial and error. And I would like us to get back to a society where we are more open to these things, but also engaged in the process and curious about the process and not needing the quick fix in 2 seconds. Again, acute emergency situations, of course, we need that. Like, absolutely. But our health is a process and our health is something that we have to build over time. And we also have to really commit to. If there's one thing I will say is that I have worked with a naturopath most of my life in phases. I don't go all the time, but when I'm going through a phase where I need to work with one, I'm really consistent. I always say, what do I say? Consistency for the win. I go every 2 weeks. And even when I do not feel like going to the appointment because I feel like I don't need to, or, there's no point, I go, I force myself. I kind of have to force myself. And I always get something out of it, even if it's just some interesting conversation. And it's also me showing up for myself and telling myself and my body that I'm a priority, that this is important. No, I'm not going to shove this to the side. So I do take my health pretty seriously. I'm committed to it, but there's not a heaviness to it. I don't want to be one of those people that's addicted to relying on other people and practitioners all the time. I definitely use them and I absolutely feel supported by them. But that's partly why I've been learning my own, theta healing and energy healing techniques so I can support myself. So that, my husband's back is he did a wonky thing today. So I know that I can do a little bit of work on him, and I may not completely cure everything today, but I know I can help him get through the day. And that is the most empowering feeling. So even if you're just learning to meditate, that's very empowering because you can now calm your mind, you can calm your body. This is what energy healing is all about. It's empowerment. Like, that's how I see it. And I think we're living in a society that is trying to disempower us. And I want to go back to this. So I'm going to help you guys feel empowered, hopefully, is the goal, by giving you these lists of energy modalities. And I'm excited for you guys to tune into my conversation with Rose, who's the emotion code practitioner, because she has some incredible stories to share. And it may be a modality that's worth exploring, or it may lead you down the path to figuring out another modality that is helpful. Like body talk is kind of similar to it. I've only done it once, so I don't have too much to say about it. But I want to empower you guys to be proactive with your health and believe in the magic of energy healing, because I do. And just changing that perspective and deciding to actually believe the results that I'm seeing and feeling has been a transformative experience. And I hope I can help share that inspiration with you. Take care, guys. Thank you for joining me today on Ditch the Struggle. You showing up here means so much to me. To dig deeper into the topics discussed today and to learn about my work, visit alanarosa.com. And don't forget to download your free resources while you're there. And if this episode resonated with you, please share with others who also want to ditch the struggle. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, leave a rating and a review, and let me know what you'd like to see more of on this podcast. And before I go, I want to leave you with my 3 favorite ways to ditch the struggle. Be your own best advocate, take baby steps for the win, and forget about a linear career path. It's overrated and you are doing just fine. See you next time.